Stand by for action. We are about to launch Stingray.
Number 10. The villains who could breathe literally anywhere. There is a detail about the bad guys in Stingray that most fans completely missed. And once you hear it, you will wonder how you ever watched those episodes without noticing. Titan's Aquafabian forces were not just underwater threats. They could breathe both air and water. That dual breathing physiology made them uniquely dangerous as adversaries because they could operate in crushing ocean depths just as effectively as they could launch surface world invasions without losing a single beat. Think about what that means strategically. Wasp was always defending on two fronts simultaneously. The ocean was the Aquafabian's home turf, but dry land was never truly safe either. For a 1964 puppet show aimed at children, that is a surprisingly sophisticated threat design. The kind of world-building detail that serious science fiction sneaks past you before you realize you are learning something. It also makes Titan himself considerably more imposing. He was not just a tyrant of the deep. He was a tyrant with options. If hidden TV history and the wild behind-the-scenes reality of the shows you grew up with is your thing, subscribing means you get the next deep dive the day it drops, not 6 months later when the algorithm finally decides you deserve it.
Hello, Atlanta. What was that crash I heard?
I dropped Troy's photograph as the video phone came on.
Number 9. Atlanta's quiet heartbreak nobody talks about. Most conversations about the love triangle in Stingray start and end with Marina. But there was another woman in Troy Tempest's orbit, and her story is quietly one of the most emotionally layered threads in the entire series. Lieutenant Atlanta Shore, daughter of Commander Shore himself, carried a clear and largely unrequited affection for Captain Troy Tempest throughout the run of the show. She was smart, capable, deeply loyal to Wasp, and professionally accomplished. And Troy, for his part, was perpetually distracted by the mysterious, silent figure they had rescued from the deep. For a supermarionation puppet show aimed at children, that is genuinely sophisticated emotional writing. Atlanta's arc gave the series real human stakes beyond the explosions and underwater chases. She was not pining uselessly, she was fully functional and impressive in her own right. But the audience always knew where her heart sat, and it added a layer of melancholy to every episode that aged remarkably well. If you ever rewatched the series as an adult and felt something unexpectedly affecting about Atlanta, you were not imagining it. The writers earned that feeling honestly.
Gentlemen, it has been established beyond reasonable doubt that this was no normal act of war.
Number 8. Wasp, the organization bigger than the submarine. Everyone remembers the sub. Fewer people remember who actually sent it out there. The World Aquanaut Security Patrol, WASP, was the international defense agency standing between humanity and every underwater threat Titan could dream up. This was not a small naval unit or a single nation operation. Wasp was explicitly designed as humanity's comprehensive last line of defense against the aggressive ambitions of the Aquafabians and anyone else lurking beneath the surface. That global mandate mattered to the show's tone. Stingray was not just an adventure series about one heroic crew having weekly scrapes. It was framed as an ongoing conflict, a war for the survival of the surface world, conducted primarily in the crushing depths of the ocean. The stakes were civilizational, not personal. Gerry Anderson and his team understood, even in 1964, that the best science fiction needs an institutional backbone to feel real. Wasp gave the series that backbone. Every mission felt like it mattered because the organization behind it made clear that failure was never a trivial option. Consider it the ancestor of every fictional global defense agency you have loved since.
Guess you want out too. Don't worry, I'll take care of you.
Number 7. Titan, genuinely one of television's great villains. We talk a lot about great television antagonists, and Titan almost never makes those lists. That is a genuine injustice worth correcting. Titan was the malevolent ruler of the Aquafabians, commanding an amphibious race from elaborate underwater cities, and his motivation was crystal clear: conquer the surface world, eliminate Wasp, and establish total dominance for his people. No murky backstory, no philosophical ambiguity, pure, committed, operatic villainy, and it worked magnificently. What made Titan memorable was his consistency. He never wavered, never doubted himself, never had a redemption arc dangled in front of the audience. He was the obstacle every single week. That unwavering menace gave Stingray its narrative spine in a way that more complicated antagonists sometimes fail to do. For a character rendered entirely in puppet form, Titan had remarkable screen presence. The design team gave him a regal, intimidating visual identity that communicated power without excessive dialogue. He looked like someone you should be afraid of. The show trusted the audience to feel that immediately. They did.
Marineville calling Stingray. Are you receiving us? Are you receiving us? Over.
Number 6. Built for America, before America even asked. Here is where the business brain behind Stingray starts to reveal itself, and it is shrewder than most people ever credited. Gerry Anderson and the production team designed Stingray with American audiences as a primary target from the very beginning. Color television was already widespread and commercially dominant in the United States by the mid-1960s, and American networks were the premium buyers in the global syndication market. So the entire production strategy was built around making a show that could walk straight into those deals. This meant every creative decision, the production values, the futuristic visual language of the series, the ambitious scope, was calibrated with international appeal baked in from day one. Stingray was not a British show that later got sold abroad. It was a globally conceived production that happened to be made in Britain. That distinction matters enormously. It was one of the earliest examples of a British production company consciously engineering a property for export, treating the domestic market almost as secondary. Whether that sounds cynical or visionary probably depends on whether you were the one cashing the checks. From where we stand now, it looks like genius.
And you are my prisoner.
Number 5. Puppet underwater sequences that defied all common sense. Let's take a moment to appreciate just how absurd the ambition of Stingray was from a pure technical standpoint. Creating convincing underwater sequences with marionette puppets on a television budget in the early 1960s required a level of special effects ingenuity that bordered on the irrational. The production team used intricate scale models, meticulously constructed underwater sets, and careful wirework choreography to sell the illusion that these puppet characters were genuinely operating in a believable aquatic environment. This was the first British television series to attempt extensive underwater puppet sequences at this scale, and the techniques developed during production pushed the entire field of supermarionation significantly forward. Every problem the team solved on Stingray became a lesson carried into every Anderson production that followed. The ambition was slightly mad. The results were spectacular enough that millions of children accepted them as completely convincing reality. That is the only scorecard that ultimately matters. And by that measure, the team won decisively.
Why don't you answer me?
You're wasting your time, Turanian. She cannot speak.
Number 4. Marina, the character who never said a single word. She never spoke, not once. And somehow, she became one of the most beloved characters in the entire show. Marina, the mysterious Aquafabian woman rescued by Captain Troy Tempest, appeared throughout the series as a central presence in the Wasp crew's adventures. Her screen presence was magnetic, and her loyalty to Troy was conveyed entirely through movement, expression, and the subtle storytelling of the puppet animators. She communicated volumes without a single word of dialogue. For an era of television that leaned heavily on expository conversation, Marina's silence was a bold, creative choice. She operated on a completely different frequency from everyone around her, which made her fascinating to watch and impossible to ignore. Audiences connected with her immediately. Her muteness also gave the show one of its most interesting recurring mysteries. Why exactly did she not speak? What was she thinking? What did she know about Titan's world that she was not sharing? The questions were never fully answered, and the ambiguity made her more compelling with every appearance. Why she ended up mute? That story is coming up next, and it is not what you expect.
Power from Stingray.
Seaborn.
Okay, Troy. This is the brief.
Number 3. The accident that made Marina an icon. This is one of those production stories that sounds like someone invented it. Nobody invented it. This actually happened. Marina was originally written with dialogue. She was supposed to speak. The role was cast with a French actress, a former ballet dancer, whose physical grace made her ideal for bringing the character's movement-based performance to life. There was just one significant problem. She did not speak English. Rather than recast the role entirely, Gerry Anderson made a pivotal creative decision on the spot. Marina would simply be mute. Her silence would be presented as a characteristic of her Aquafabian nature, built into the fabric of who she was. A casting logistic became a defining character trait. A production challenge became an iconic creative choice. The woman who was supposed to speak became the most mysteriously compelling silent presence in 1960s British television. That is the kind of happy accident that production histories love to document and development rooms try unsuccessfully to manufacture. You cannot plan for that. You can only be smart enough to recognize it when it lands in your lap, and Anderson absolutely was.
Just who are you? And where am I?
I am Titan.
Number 2. The show that changed British TV was invisible in Britain. Here is the one that will make you do a genuine double take. Stingray holds the distinction of being the first British television series ever filmed entirely in color. That is a landmark achievement in the history of British broadcasting, a genuine first that belongs on any serious list of television milestones. The strategic reasoning was the American market and the color network deal discussed earlier. The production was shot in full color from day one. British audiences watching at home saw it entirely in black and white. The BBC would not begin full-color broadcasting until 1967, so the show that pioneered color television production in the United Kingdom was completely invisible as a color achievement to the very audience it was made alongside. The Americans got the color, Britain got the broadcast. It is one of the more delightfully ironic footnotes in television history, a British team making British television history in a form that British viewers literally could not perceive. The pioneering was real. The recognition at home had to wait for history to catch up.
Then you are proved to be our enemy. The penalty...
Number 1. The opening that launched 1,000 Saturdays. If you grew up with this show, there is a specific sequence of words burned into your memory at a cellular level. You can probably hear them right now without any audio assistance. Stand by for action. We are about to launch Stingray. Anything can happen in the next half hour. That opening declaration, delivered over the full orchestral blast of Barry Gray's theme, was the ignition sequence for an entire generation of Saturday mornings. It did not ease you in. It grabbed you by the collar, pointed at the screen, and told you exactly what kind of commitment you were about to make. 12 words, total buy-in every single time. The genius of that voiceover was its confidence. It was not asking whether you were ready. It was telling you to be ready, because the show was launching with or without your full attention. That energy, commanding, theatrical, slightly breathless, set the tone for everything that followed in every episode across the entire run. 60 years later, those words still work. Say them out loud right now and see what happens to your pulse. The show knew what it was doing. It always knew exactly what it was doing.
Heading in the direction of explosion zone. I will continue to report on progress.
Bonus fact, the Stingray herself, more than just a cool submarine. Every great adventure series needs a vehicle that becomes a character in its own right. And the Stingray submarine earned that status completely. Captain Troy Tempest's vessel was presented as the absolute cutting edge of human technology, capable of extraordinary speeds, equipped with both offensive and defensive capabilities, and designed to operate in environments that would destroy anything less advanced. She was not just transportation, she was the physical embodiment of what Wasp stood for, the best humanity could build, deployed against the worst the deep ocean could produce. The Stingray's design captured something essential about early 1960s futurism, that particular visual language of optimistic, clean-lined, chrome-edged possibility that defined the era's relationship with technology. She looked like the future felt, powerful, purposeful, and just slightly beyond reach. For a prop built at miniature scale and filmed against a tank of water, she had remarkable screen charisma. Kids did not just watch the Stingray, they wanted to be on the Stingray. That desire, that specific aching sense of wanting to climb inside a fictional vehicle, is the highest compliment you can pay to a design team working in any era of television. She earned it. 60 years on, Stingray holds up as something genuinely remarkable. A show that was technically pioneering, emotionally sophisticated, and wildly ambitious in ways its audience never fully suspected while watching. A color production invisible to its home country. A mute icon born from a casting accident. A villain built entirely from consistency and commitment. An opening line that still hits like a starting pistol. The show trusted its audience to keep up, trusted its characters to carry emotional weight, and trusted its production team to solve problems that had never been solved before. That combination of trust and ambition is rarer than it should be in any era of television. So which fact landed hardest for you? Was it Marina's accidental silence? The color TV paradox? Or is it Atlanta's quietly heartbreaking story that is still sitting with you? Drop it in the comments. The Marineville crew wants to know. Stand by for action, and we will see you in the next No.